Welcome back to the channel, or just welcome if it's your first time here. I'm Jurij, and I do mostly speed builds for The Sims with no commentary. But today I have to add the commentary because it's the first time that I'm building in inZoi. And to avoid having to think too much, I took the last house that I did in The Sims and I tried to replicate it in the inZoi building mode, and it wasn't always a success, but all in all, wasn't bad. Let's go into it. Alright, so when you first start in the building mode, you get a house, and I either bravely or stupidly just deleted everything and decided to go with no grid, no reference, no anything. That is the grid. It has some dimensions, like guess 1, 2, 3, 4, but I didn't know what those dimensions were or how many meters there were actually. So yeah, mistake, because now the house will be huge and I just didn't notice because you can see the grid that it's very small. So I wasn't quite aware of the dimensions of things, so the house will end up being huge. Another thing that I found slightly frustrating is that you cannot move the whole wall together, especially if you give it those shapes. And in the end, you have to extend. I had to extend the rest of the room to meet the new wall. If you have a closed room, the floor updates. And if you have a shadow, it means that it's fully closed. And this will be important later. The roof is very interesting in that it doesn't have that many options. It only has the 4 options that you can see over my head. And it has some things that can be fixed, like for example that gap, you cannot close it, and the wall, the edge of the roof is actually coming into the building. Another thing is that you can customize the ceiling to be all glass, for example, but it doesn't react like a window, so you don't get any new illumination inside. And this was a frustration. In the house that I did, it has a tiny bit of roof over the door that I wasn't able to fit. I think if I try it now, if you press the Alt button, it allows you to place it in odd locations, but without using the Alt button I couldn't make it work, so I decided to just let it be and ignore it, because you only have those 4 corners. I couldn't make it work. I couldn't make the roof match one going to the other, and all those traditional shapes that I was very comfortable in The Sims. I keep on trying to just drag it into location and it didn't work. I think if you press Alt it will work, but because it was my very first time building, I just didn't know that. So that was frustrating, a tiny bit frustrating, but it may have been my fault. It's what I'm saying. I didn't like the shape, I didn't like how it was looking, so okay, so I'll move on to something else and then see if I can fix it. I like that you can customize the colors of absolutely everything, and there is a tiny plus button by the color palette, and when you press that, you actually save the color for later. I will do that with that blue, you see? I just saved it there, so I can paint the wall always in exactly the same blue, rather than having to copy paste the hex color code. Texture and color are independent, and you can actually have videos. That is where I decided all of that I was going to put windows, and then I noticed that you can turn the walls into glass, so I said okay, perfect, that it's a lot of illumination, but it won't react as a window. You will not get natural lighting inside, it's just a visual effect, while the windows actually cast shadows, and they are appropriate. Well, shadows and light, I mean. Here is where I start realizing how huge I have made the build, because I keep on having to add windows, while in the original I only have 1. Columns was frustrating in that I cannot make them all floor to ceiling, they need to be laying on the floor, so I couldn't make them corner of the house as in the original Sims. And then, see, too many windows compared to the original Sim house. Oh, that was a mistake. Come back. Let's turn back to the... There we go. So because it was so huge, I decided to remove a whole wing of the top floor and just have a balcony. So I went on and ta-da! I removed a wall and I removed the ceiling, thinking that I was removing the ceiling only for the balcony. I removed the ceiling of the whole top floor and I couldn't get it back on. I became very frustrated, we will see it later, because I don't have a ceiling. The roof has a section that looks like a ceiling, but the software will not recognize it as a ceiling, which meant that I couldn't have lamps on the ceiling. So all the top floor illumination ended up being on the wall or on foot lamps. So yeah, that was frustrating on its own, and it was my fault. I kept on looking on Google trying to figure out if other people had managed to sort it, and everyone, oh no, it's a known error. That was my fault. I deleted it thinking that I was only deleting the balcony because the room is not closed. It was for the whole that I deleted. So yes, that was my fault. Be careful when you're building. Do not do that. We keep on going. All right, so now it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter where I close the walls, it's gone. And I never managed to make it come back. Here, I assumed somehow that the floor I just deleted was a platform. It wasn't. But the floor comes back. Either you place it on your own, although it doesn't do odd shapes, or you could retrace the whole shape. I love that you can slide the lighting, by the way. So you can see the lighting from day to night, and the shadows are consistent, and I love that. So this is the floor that I ended up having to put, but I didn't have anything to fill that tiny corner. I didn't know how to fix it, so in the end I had to leave it. For the roof, I couldn't place windows. That is something that I was used to doing in The Sims, but here I ignored the staircase where I knew the staircase was going to be, and in inZoi you can have windows on the staircase. Okay, you see that corner was left over there, and then this is nice. You can have some presets of furniture that you can mix and match together to create your own furniture, not just by scanning a picture using the AI to create something. That is the custom furniture. And here is the, I can see the Sims one there. So that's what I was trying to mimic. Because the roof was going into the building, I couldn't get the staircase to the very edge. So I have to ignore that. And this should have been a dead giveaway that I don't have shadows, therefore I don't have a ceiling. It wasn't. It should have. To save them, you can save the property as presets, but it doesn't overwrite. So next time you save it, it will create a new save, and you may need to delete the original. So you can always go back because it doesn't overwrite. I love how you can customize everything color and texture separately. That is very useful. And I like the realism, but it is a bit like playing base game in The Sims. It's still missing things. So I'm too used to building with too many options, I'm guessing. And although these allowed me to change, customize would be more an appropriate word, anything I wanted, it didn't give me as many options as I was expecting just with the customization. Okay, and that is where I start getting frustrating, saying, what is the roof? Just floating. And it doesn't disappear when I go downstairs. My own fault for deleting a ceiling. There it goes, floating. And couldn't figure out why. It will become annoying. I will keep on trying to move the roof over and over again and take it out, and it was impossible to edit this video keeping that. If I removed all the trying to fix it, then the video was extremely unconnected. This was the kitchen. And one thing that I like is that the shapes you can also customize using the sliders by properties. So you can move the swatch up and down, left and right, make the pattern bigger or smaller. And that is really useful to make it look very different. I use that type because that is called French tiling, and I love it. But you can change the size to make it very big slabs, which makes sense in such a huge build. Otherwise, it would have been way too busy for the eye. And that I didn't like. I wanted an arch that was double, and I didn't have any. But one thing that I like for the doors is that they don't require as much of a box. So you can get more things. It's not a full square like it was in The Sims. I love that tiling. Ah, yes, I was painting everything. You have textures, you have color codes. There is a symbol. I think the R button allows you, you choose the whole room at the same time. So you can make modifications for the whole room at the same time rather than wall by wall. That is useful. And here I had an idea of what I wanted to do in here. You see, you can slide and move them around. That is useful. And I like the customization, being able to different things and different textures, different colors, rather than it being a swatch, you decide. And I like that. Curtains, we will speak about them later because that made me extremely happy for some very odd reason. I'm guessing it's because I've been asking for 2 things for The Sims for years. Oh, look at that, look at that. Go back, stop and go back. Ah, yeah. You stop. And go back. See the window. See that? The window understands that there is something in front and the shadows change. The lighting changes. So right now you're seeing the whole window, and then when you put the curtain, you only see whatever is left. That is extremely interesting from an being crazy like me point of view. I love when things are consistent. It makes something very happy to my brain, and you have to be slightly crazy to go into civil engineering. So yeah. Blame it on my professional deformation. Okay. One thing that makes me really happy for this one is that everything that can be placed on a desk, on a surface, you can put on shelves. And you can really move them around and turn, and that made me really happy. I've been asking for years for more curtains and more items that go on the shelves without having to use cheats in The Sims, and that made me really happy to find it here. I could just get them wherever I wanted. Lamps, more lamps. I like this corner, I will leave in that corner. Then I decided to use those as records for a turntable, but I don't really like the options for low tables that we have. They are way too low. They are tiny compared to the dimensions that you can get to. Because you can customize and upload images and download other people's from their gallery. That is absolutely amazing. There is very talented people out there doing this. One of the things that I didn't like for the table set that you cannot get at the head or the toes. I don't know, the head of the table, I'm assuming it has 2 heads. I don't know how to say that in English, never mind me, keep on going. You cannot get chairs. So even though you could sit 6 people in that table, you can only place 4 chairs. Ah, cat furniture. No house is complete without cat furniture. A desk so you can see the kitty. Oh, and they have faxes. They have faxes and printers and random thing like that for the office, which I have not seen a fax in ages. And then I saw one there and we were like, okay. The picture mode is really good because you can also slide the shadows and the time of day to make the picture. It records, and when you upload these to the gallery, or these called canvas, you can choose the pictures, and that's something that has made a lot of Sim players happy. Rather than the automatic, why is there a tree in front of my house that you get with the gallery sometimes. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Oh, the paintings are interesting in that you're choosing the size and then you can customize what goes into the painting, and that includes things that you can upload from your computer. The kitchen is still missing some things because there are not that many swatches. So it didn't have too many options and it all looks the same. You either have a full unit or a corner unit and cabinets at the top. Yeah. What am I doing? Okay, back to the kitchen. So you see, you only have that same one going over and over again, but you have so many things that you can put on the countertops that it made me happy regardless. This ended up looking more traditional than I was expecting. I'm guessing that it's because I chose country looking kitchen. And then again, the table, only 4 chairs, you cannot get the 6th. And here is where I think I go truly and really crazy because the kitchen was so huge and I became so happy. When you press shift, you can place several of the same things. That works the same in The Sims. And I just kept on adding things. Like, oh, everything goes on a shelf. I'm so happy. I kept on adding things. I am a minimalist by nature, but also because I don't use cheats in The Sims. Everything ends up looking very minimalistic. Decorating, however, because of natural light might be a bit complex. I have been going to night mode more often than not, just to have a consistent lighting rather than depending on the light that comes through the window. Otherwise, it looks slightly dark, which wouldn't be the case in real life, but we are, probably it's me, I'm just way too used to seeing what I'm doing and the lights being on during the day for The Sims, which this doesn't do. So I kept on changing it to night to decorate some things. Okay. And this, I think, is where I become frustrated and discover about the ceiling being gone. By not being able to place any light and then trying to say what's going on. Maybe if I take the roof, no, it wouldn't take it. Then I retrace the whole room, thinking maybe it will sprout again. It didn't. So in the end, born out of necessity, I just place all the lighting on the walls, and that is the case for the whole top floor. Makes for interesting decoration. It's just not traditional in any sense or form. And this was the second bedroom, not the main bedroom. And I was just playing with the swatches and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And in the end, it just went very, very simple. I like that the furniture is smaller than in The Sims. It's more about apartments, I would guess, and it's apartment size. And the tables are tiny, side tables and all of those. I was expecting them to be much bigger. That is the preset lamp that I prepared. Curtains, they make me happy because they have railings. Have you seen that? I can place railings to make it look complete. So you just have the both sides and you picked it with railings and it just looks consistent. And that made me very happy. It will make me happy in the other room as well. I will. The streaming went a bit. Are you okay, mate? Yeah, sure. Oh, and then I discovered that you have neons that you can put on the walls as lighting. And I had to sign it. I had to sign it. It's on canvas and it's signed. I just kept on chuckling. I kept on doing this, like, oh my god. I was caffeine deprived that day. I kept on going blue. I don't know why I keep on going blue lately. I'm going blue and orange, and I'm guessing that it's pastel colors because it's sunny outside. Railing. When you press Alt while placing the railing, you can decide exactly where it goes. Just so it looks consistent, because it has some snapping options in place that may not always work in the shapes that you have placed. Look at that, railing. You're missing curtains, but at least it looks appropriate. I really like how this room ends up looking. It reminds me of those beach houses that you get in some movies. You can change the swatch and you can change the frame. The lighting, you can even decide how warm or the color temperature of the lighting, you can decide as well. That is amazing. But not everything. I wanted to make those marble and you cannot change the material for everything. Then we're almost to the end. I just dropped some things outside to make it a nice balcony. I think that is a dancing floor. But I don't have music playing up. It's okay. And over here, I just placed every gym item because I wasn't quite sure what to do with the sunroom. But you can see that it's not behaving as if it was a window. You don't get lighting inside. It's just transparent walls. So you need the lighting over the day for that room. I don't know how it will behave on gameplay. It might be too dark because it doesn't have day lighting. And here I was just trying to go around. It was very difficult to control the camera. It moves very similar to the Sims camera with the ASDW, but still it wasn't quite the same. So I kept on messing it up. I saved it. It's in Canvas if you want to find it. And thank you for staying with me till the end. So that was my first building attempt at inZoi. All in all, it's enjoyable, but a bit bare bones. You can get this building or others in Canvas. I will link it in the description below. And if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.